So I'm going to get stuck right in. We have got a lot to talk about today. This morning's session is basically what I would do as a fertility expert who has worked with thousands of women if I wanted to have a healthy pregnancy in 2025. And by that, I mean, obviously, it's not going to be possible if I'm not pregnant now, I'm not going to be able to have a baby by the end of 2025 unless it's premature. So, by this, I'm meaning if you are looking to fall pregnant and get past that first trimester, which can be a little bit scary, a little bit stressy, if you want to have done that in 2025, I'm going to go through all of the steps that I would take if I was you. Okay. And I'm going to be giving away a lot of the kind of secrets that I tend to keep for my paying clients. I'm going to be going into a little bit of the science because I always think that if you know why you're doing something, then you are more likely to actually do it and follow through with it. So this is going to be a really, really fun session. And as I say, please do pop in, please do jump in, please do tell me if you disagree. Please tell me if something I'm saying really resonates with you. And let's actually just get started. So, who is this session going to be relevant to? Basically, anyone who's thinking of having a baby in the medium term is going to find this useful. There's also lots of general female lifestyle, female hormone tips in here, but this is mostly going to be relative to the kind of typical women that I work with. So she tends to be what we call type A. She's normally got a good job. She's a hard worker. She's intelligent. She's a clever girl. She's used to planning things and they tend to happen. And if it doesn't happen, she tends to make a new plan and she works harder and it gets sorted. Typically, the women that I work with would maybe be a little bit overweight, sometimes very overweight, but typically just a little bit, not drastically. And this is more lifestyle related. So it's more often because she's having too many midweek wines or she's going out for dinner or having takeaway a wee bit more often than she should. And she is either struggling to get a positive pregnancy test or she has suffered more than one miscarriage and or she is looking to prepare for ART, which means assistive reproductive technology. That might be IVF, that might be IUI, it might be something else. And that would be either self-funded or funded through the kind of NHS. So these tips that I'm going to give and these stories that I'm going to tell you are based on kind of real life women. And this is the things that I would tell them to do. So no two clients are the same. I should say that, and that's why I offer kind of one-to-one coaching as well as my group coaching. But this is what I tend to recommend in some way to most of my paying clients. Might be in a different order depending on where they are, but these are the things that are important, and they are very important. There's other things too, but these are the things that I think everyone who's thinking of having a baby, who is struggling to have a baby, really needs to do and needs to think about. So let's just get stuck in. Number one is to educate yourself on egg quality. Okay, so I'm going to just activate a wee poll here and ask if you could let me know if someone talks to you about egg quality, if you would be comfortable in knowing what they're talking about, or if you would be kind of like, what are they talking about? There is an absolutely amazing book on egg quality called It Starts with the Egg by Rebecca Fett. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about egg quality just now. There's a lot of information about it available freely online, but this book is the kind of the all singing, all dancing because it gives you all of the studies and she tells you why she recommends certain things. You don't need the brand new edition. Go on eBay, get a second-hand copy. It's absolutely fine. But it starts with the egg, basically explains why our eggs are the most important thing when it comes to fertility, infertility, miscarriage, and preparing for IVF. Okay, So undoubtedly you will know that we are born with all of the eggs we're ever going to have. We cannot make more eggs. Even if we go on the pill for 20 years, we are still losing eggs every month. Okay, and nothing can change that. Absolutely nothing can change that. But quantity and quality are very, very important. Remember, in each cycle, if you're trying naturally, you only need one good egg. Okay, so you only need one good, strong, healthy egg. So even if you've got millions of eggs, it's still only going to be one that actually, becomes that embryo, becomes that child. So in many ways, the quantity of eggs that you have is less important for two reasons. Because A, you only need one, but B, there's absolutely sweet FA you can do about the number of eggs that you have. The other side of it is the quality of your eggs. Okay, so better quality eggs are more likely to actually implant. They are more likely to survive a pregnancy. They are less likely to miscarry. And that is because better quality eggs are more likely to be they're more likely to have the chromosomes in the right order. So we know that chromosomal abnormalities are the reason for more than 50% of pre-12-week miscarriages. Okay, and that's where in the 3 months leading up to an egg being ovulated, this is what we call meiosis. The sorting starts to happen, and certainly at the women's side, and in lower quality eggs, more often the chromosomes aren't sorted correctly. So if we really understand how to support those eggs, how to energize them, how to make them the best quality possible, then that means there's more chance of that egg implanting, becoming an embryo, growing into a fetus, becoming a healthy baby. Okay, so there's lots of ways to educate yourself on egg quality. Please make sure that you're, reading reputable sources. I can't recommend Rebecca Fett enough. Of course, you could work with someone like me or some of the other amazing fertility coaches who are out there. But the first thing I would recommend anyone does when it comes to trying to have a baby is really understanding egg quality and what is meant by egg quality. All right. On to number two is supplements. Supplements to prepare your body and your eggs. Okay. Now, what you will not hear from me is recommending particular brands. I'm not a fan at all of coaches and people in the fertility space who work specifically or only with brands, because I'm always a little bit suspicious that they are getting kind of affiliate kickbacks, which is absolutely fine if that's their business model, but it is not my business model. I work with women all over the world with varied resources, and I work with women who do have hundreds or thousands of pounds to spend every month on supplements, and I work with women who don't. So I like to talk about the ingredients in the supplements as opposed to the actual brands. Okay, and I think that kind of demystifies a little bit about what you should be buying. So understand firstly that it takes 3 months to improve fertility and egg quality. Once you start taking supplements, you're not going to wake up the next day and feel more fertile. You're not going to wake up and 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, everything started to click. Whenever you see people online or people who are selling supplements or secret herbs talking this way, it's usually because that's the last thing they tried. To improve the quality of an egg, we know that it takes 3 months from tiny little follicle to mature egg. And we want to be doing all of the things that I'm going to be talking about, supplements included, for those 3 months. Okay. So the first one is, and again, I don't normally go into this in kind of lives. Normally, this is the kind of information that I keep for my clients. But I think the most useful supplement ingredient for fertility is CoQ10. Okay. And the best form of that is ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is basically an antioxidant that you can take in pill form, and it energizes your eggs. There have been studies that have shown that the reason a lot of older eggs appear to be of lower quality is because they don't have enough energy to make it through that meiosis process. They are not energized enough for this chromosomal sorting. Okay, so ubiquinol and CoQ10 is one of the best research supplements when it comes to fertility, and I recommend it to absolutely 99% of my clients. Obviously, big disclosure here, do not start any supplement without talking to your doctor first or your fertility team. So I'm not saying go out and buy these, I'm saying speak to your doctor about it first. And that's what I do say to my clients as well. But CoQ10, especially if you have suffered from miscarriage in the past and if you are struggling to actually conceive, CoQ10, specifically ubiquinol, is one of the best things that you can take. Take it every single day and find a way that you can incorporate that into your existing routine. Okay. Now, the other ones that I suggest a lot of my clients take are more kind of bog standard. Okay. So, folate, everyone who's trying for a baby or who has tried for a baby will understand the importance of folate for preparing your body and for any growing embryo. A multivitamin, that's basically to support your nutrition. We're going to talk about nutrition in a minute, but multivitamins are really, really helpful for just making sure that we're topping up anything that might be lacking. Vitamin D, we are Glasgow girls. Vitamin D is a hormone. We do not get nearly enough sunlight here in Glasgow, and vitamin D is super, super useful for optimizing our hormones and keeping everything running smoothly. And then lastly, I do like to recommend a magnesium supplement to most of my clients as well. I ask them to take it at night just to help with their sleep. And yeah, that's one of my favorites. So, disclosure again, please don't start any supplements without speaking to your doctor first, but also know that it's unlikely that it's going to make a difference overnight or even in a week. So, let's be realistic, okay? Why wouldn't you, if we know that it takes 3 months to improve egg quality and we know that we have suffered from miscarriages in the past, then let's make a plan and say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 months looking after my eggs, looking after my body, getting ready to have a brilliant, safe, healthy pregnancy. And I'm going to leave my supplements next to my kettle until I'm used to taking them every week, because there's no way I'm forgetting to have my morning coffee. So if I leave my supplements there, I'm building it into something I'm already doing. This isn't my tip. This is from the amazing James Clear and his book Atomic Habits. It's called habit stacking. If you want to start a new habit, build it in some way to something that you're already doing. And we all love our morning hit of something, don't we? Okay, excuse me while I. Are you with me so far, gang? Does everyone agree with what we're saying? Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. Number 3 is to minimize inflammation. Okay. Inflammation has been shown time and time again to affect egg quality. So we know that if we want to improve egg quality and we know that inflammation is damaging, then we should obviously be doing whatever we can to minimize inflammation. Now, this does not mean that you need to go vegan, move to the country and cold water dip every morning. You do not need to sprinkle turmeric on all of your food. That's not realistic. When it comes to minimizing inflammation, like so many lifestyle changes, it starts with the basics. Okay. So, number 1 is move your body more. If you don't have time for the gym, walk more. Challenge yourself to walk a minimum amount of steps every single day and then add 1,000 onto that every week. Moving your body is one of the most basic ways to reduce inflammation. Yes, training, workouts, yoga, resistance particularly, they're all amazing for inflammation, but we walk before we run. So if you are someone who is literally glued to a desk X amount of hours a day and getting to the gym feels like a million miles away, start with just getting off your butt and walking, okay? If it's pissing down outside, do a YouTube walking workout. If you truly are struggling for time, get off one kind of stop early. Find a way to move more, okay? The more you do it, the faster you'll get and the easier it'll get, okay? The second thing about hydration, and this is so basic here, but hydration. Hydration is the most overlooked way to minimize inflammation and improve egg quality. We're flushing out toxins, we're helping our body operate at its absolute best and tracking it, not saying to ourselves, okay, today I'm going to drink a little bit more water and then going on and having the same day we always do. Actually having a system, okay? Knowing that you are drinking the right amount of water. And by that, I do not include caffeinated drinks, fizzy drinks, or alcohol. I mean water that is going to hydrate our bodies. All right. Now, the next thing I want to talk about does touch on inflammation, but I think it's more a kind of step in itself. So, this is number 4, and this is nutrition. Nutrition is a biggie for egg quality, massively important for hormone balance, minimizing miscarriage, but it is also hugely useful in minimizing inflammation. So, the Mediterranean diet is shown to be the absolute gold standard. It is the best for fertility, minimal inflammation, and it is consumed in many of the what we call blue zones across the world. Okay. What I don't mean here is that you need to move abroad and eat sardines every day. There is a lot that we can learn and do to replicate the macro and micronutrients from the Mediterranean diet to a Western diet. And the easiest way to do that is actually by looking at it at a macro level and then a micro level. Okay, so what I'm going to be talking about just now are changes that we can make from a typical busy girl, stressed out our box Western diet to a more Mediterranean, minimal inflammation way of eating. Okay, so when I talk about macro obviously means big. So when we talk about macronutrients, that means big nutrients. The 3 macronutrients in our nutrition are dietary fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So let's start with fats because fats are massively misunderstood and actually really important in a fertility context. So here in the UK, we love our cheese. Here in Glasgow, we invented the deep fried Mars bar. I think, did we invent the deep fried pizza as well? Anyway, in Glasgow, we are fans of trans fats or less healthy fats. Trans fats are very bad news for our hormones, for inflammation, for our general health, and for fertility. So when I talk about fats, I'm not talking about eliminating fats by any means at all. What I am talking about is eliminating slash minimizing trans fats, which are the bad fats, and adding in more of the good fats. Now, the easiest way to think about this is the good fats tend to be the excellent plant-based fats. So ones that come from nuts, seeds, avocado, extra virgin olive oil. These are all so good for us in terms of balancing out our hormones, but also, of course, for minimizing that inflammation. Okay. A lot of us here are children of the 80s, children of the 90s. We've saw on TV that fats are terrible, fats are the enemy, fats are the end of the world. No, they are effing not. The right fats are actually essential to balance out our hormones. Okay, so I'm talking about here lovely plant-based fats, and of course, let's not forget about fatty fish as well. So, I know I mentioned sardines earlier, but any oily fish, salmon, so good for us. We should be looking to consume fish twice a week and certainly oily fish at least once a week. Okay. And I'm not talking about each meal swimming in olive oil. I'm talking about just small, balanced, calculated amounts. Instead of cooking something in vegetable oil, cooking it in olive oil. Instead of putting bacon bits on top of a salad to give it some crunch, what about some lovely cashews? Just making some changes so that we're still eating the things we like, but we are optimizing it for fertility. Okay. Next is on to proteins. So here in the UK, typically the women, and this goes for women that I worked with when I worked in menopause as well. Typically, UK Western women don't consume nearly enough protein. I expect for my clients 30% to between 30 and 40% of their calorie intake, roughly a third of their calorie intake, to come from proteins. Okay. And what I actually prefer them to do is lean more towards the lean proteins. And that's not because I'm looking for them to eliminate fat, it's because I'm looking for them to prioritize the really, really good fats. Okay, so let me just give you an example. If we're cooking some lovely steak for dinner tonight, and she's used to having a delicious, marbled, beautiful ribeye, quite a bit of that lovely fat on it. It's delicious, it's tasty, and she would usually cook that in butter. Okay. My preference would be still have the steak, but have a leaner cut of steak. So maybe have some fillet or even some sirloin, but just not with the fat, and add in the good fats separately. So that might mean cooking it in olive oil, okay, or it might mean having some avocado on the side. So it's not, when I talk about lean proteins, it's not a low fat diet I'm talking about here. I'm talking about really, really packing in the amount of protein that you get from that chicken portion, that fish portion, that steak portion, and then adding in the good fats. Okay, so it's not low fat, it's not no fat, it's choosing our fats properly. And protein is, of course, as we know, is responsible for the creation of every cell in our body. We're looking to grow a new human being, and before we can grow the new human being, we want to be able to grow nice, healthy eggs. So we need to consume protein to do that. Okay, so unfortunately, the lunchtime little slithers of ham in your salad, not going to cut it. I'm looking for my clients certainly. I normally expect them to have, if they're having chicken in a meal, between 120 and 150 grams. And yeah, so really, really getting that protein high. Lovely Greek yogurt, meats. There's obviously some non-animal alternatives as well. Just be careful if you're vegan or veggie with not having too much soy, just because that's been known to kind of interrupt estrogen. But there are absolutely, absolutely, plant-based alternatives out there to get the protein in. And then carbs. Here we love our toast, we love our chips, we love our tatties, and I'm saying we here because I absolutely include myself in this. Okay, but from a fertility perspective, sometimes we do need to pay a wee bit more attention to the carbs that we are choosing. And again, I'll tell you why, because if you know why, there's more chance that you will actually follow through with it. Okay, so I mentioned before that we often don't consume enough protein, and that's because here in the UK, we are often over consuming on carbohydrates. All right. Now, carbohydrates aren't the enemy by any means. I have literally never in all of my days recommended that any of my clients eliminate carbs. I have asked that they pair them with other food groups, and I have asked that they swap to healthier choices, but I have never, ever suggested a client eliminate carbs from their diet. I am not a fan at all. It just creates a whole host of other issues, particularly in a fertility context. What I do suggest though is that my clients, where possible, select slower release carbs. Okay, and by that I mean carbs that our body needs to work harder to process. Okay, so the brown options, the whole grain options, we want to minimize any insulin spikes that come with consuming, say, bread or Haribo. We have this big spike, this big fall. And if we do this a couple of times a day with a carby breakfast, a really carby lunch, cakes in between, and then a really carby dinner and wine in the evening, this can create chronic spikes, which can lead to oh gosh, insulin resistance. Okay, we do not want our body to become insulin resistant. We want our body having nice, slow peaks and falls. And we do this by making our body work harder to process the carbs. And of course, pairing those carbs with the lovely proteins and the lovely fats. So, my favourite carbs for my clients to eat are things like the whole grain versions, brown rice, brown pasta, beans. Beans are a fantastic source of fiber as well as carbohydrates, and that's going to release much, much slower, and that's going to interfere with your other hormones much, much less, and let them do what they need to be doing. Okay, and that could be a whole other live in itself. So if that's something you're interested in, kind of managing carbohydrates, managing insulin in a fertility context, let me know in the comments and I'll arrange that for next month. But it is a biggie, especially if you have PCOS, especially if you are overweight. Okay, choosing the right carbs and pairing them with proteins and fats is an absolute game changer. And in the Mediterranean diet, we see a lot more of things like quinoa, beans, these minimally processed, brilliant, brilliant carbohydrates, as opposed to white bread or deep fried chips and that kind of stuff. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on with the Mediterranean diet is veg, 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 veg. Vegetables, almost every vegetable is a fertility superfood. And in a Mediterranean diet, it's not just something that we have at the side of our dinner as an afterthought or a couple of leaves of lettuce in our meal deal sandwich. In a Mediterranean diet, vegetables focus in every single meal consistently. All right, so that might look like some mushrooms and tomatoes in the air fryer if you're having a hot breakfast. It might look like tripling the size of the salads that you have with your sandwich at lunch. It might look like 3 portions of veg at dinner time instead of just the kind of token cucumber sticks that we've all been guilty of in the past. So really, really focusing on that veg. And again, before I go any further, let me just say I'm not saying any of this is easy, and this is why kind of people like myself and other fertility coaches exist. We give you the tools, we give you the accountability to actually do these things. So please don't think when I'm talking about doing these things that I'm shaming you because you're not doing it or implying that it's going you go off and do this, it'll be a piece of piss. No, that's not the case, but it is a game changer. Okay. And we'll talk in a wee minute about choosing your hard. Choosing the way that we eat is difficult. Sorry, changing the way that we eat is very, very difficult. We've been brought up a certain way. We've been brought up in the west of Scotland. We are used to eating in a certain way. And changing lifestyle worth of habits isn't easy. But for one, the best thing to do is just change one thing at a time. Start with the protein and the rest will come. But then when we talk about choosing our hard, walking more, drinking more water when we want to be drinking wine and coffee, changing how we eat. Yes, it is hard. However, infertility is fucking hard as well. And what is really, really hard about it is this feeling of being responsible and feeling like there's nothing I can do. That is absolutely heartbreaking. Or years later, thinking to yourself, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done this. The things I'm talking about at the moment are things that you're completely in control of. I'm not saying that they will be easy, but it's things that you can start working on today to improve your chances of conceiving. It doesn't need to be all or nothing. It can just be little bits, one thing at a time. Let that settle, move on. Let that settle, move on. Okay? So I should have actually qualified that at the start. I'm not saying any of this is going to be easy, but It's all going to help you to get to that goal that you're really, really trying to get to, that's going to be so worth it when you get there. All right. So number 5, if we go back to the 5 things I would do if I wanted to have a healthy pregnancy in 2025, number 5 is stress. Okay, stress, mental health management. I actually look like I definitely put my makeup on in the dark this morning, didn't I? Okay, the 2 main causes of miscarriage are thought to be chromosomal issues, which we've talked about, and that feeds into egg quality. And the other one tends to be progesterone issues, often low progesterone. And this is where the body is not making enough progesterone, which of course is one of our sex hormones. So where the body isn't making enough progesterone to either support implantation to get that positive pregnancy test, or throughout the first 3 months to support embryo growth. All right. So this is the ultimate catch-22, isn't it? The ultimate catch-22. Stressed out your nut, that causes low progesterone. We know that we're stressed because we can't have a baby. Round and round and round and round and round we go. Infertility, trying to conceive, miscarriage. These things are stressy as, okay? When we become chronically stressed, now this is geeking out a little bit, but I think it's really, really important to understand, okay? When we become chronically stressed, our bodies produce excess cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone, and it was very, very useful hundreds and thousands of years ago when we needed cortisol to keep us alert, to listen out for predators, mountain lions, and we needed extra body fat that comes with excess cortisol to survive winters when we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. But we are here in 2025 and our bodies can't tell the difference. And chronic stress often leads to hugely elevated cortisol levels. So let's go back to the sex hormones that we've talked about before, progesterone specifically. We need enough progesterone in the luteal phase, which is the second part of our period after ovulation. We need enough progesterone for the embryo to implant, okay? And we need enough progesterone in the first few months to support development. Progesterone, though, is a precursor for cortisol. If we are stressed out of our tits between fertility, peeing on sticks, what to eat, work, our boss, all of our aunties asking when we're having a baby, the body is going to prioritise cortisol production, and that's often going to lead to lower progesterone levels, meaning that we can end up with chronically low progesterone, which can mean that we can be doing everything right. We can be eating properly, we can be showing up for work, we can be bossing it, we can be having sex at the right time and actually implanting, but still losing this pregnancy before we've even missed a period. Or we could be doing everything right, but low progesterone might mean that we are miscarrying at 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 10 weeks. Okay, so chronic stress is absolutely, absolutely linked to low progesterone, which is absolutely, it's relevant in a lot of miscarriages and a lot of the times when we just can't conceive because we don't have a long enough luteal phase or we don't have enough progesterone to implant. So let's go back here, all right? Stress, and you will have heard that old adage, just go on holiday, just relax. Okay, great. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just relax anytime someone says to us, just relax? That's one of the most frustrating things. This is what I hear over and over and over again. It's such a frustrating thing for a woman who is chronically stressed, who is not choosing to be chronically stressed, to hear when someone say, just relax. Because how do you forget about the baby that you so desperately want, or the baby that you almost got to meet? It's just so hard. So chronic stress does not and will not go away after one yoga class. Okay? We can't just do one thing and then expect the stress to disappear. We need to look at it as an ongoing goal to manage. So to stress what I'm saying here, our goal should be to manage stress, not to make it go away. Because realistically, in most cases, we can't make stress go away, certainly not in the short term. So, how do we manage stress? First thing we do is we look at our stressors, actually look at the things in our life that are stressing us out. Literally list them, okay? Is it a messy house? Is it that you're working too much? Is it certain people are stressing you out? Is it that these are people you've loved your whole life, but anytime you spend time with them, you come away thinking, I don't feel really good about myself? Is it because your feed, like your Instagram and Facebook feed, is full of people like me talking about fertility all the time, triggering you? So list the things that you know are stressing you out. And then the first thing to do is tick off the quick wins. Okay? If you need to stop watching the news, that's what you do. If you need to stop answering the phone to that person that really bams you up, then that's what you do. You put the boundaries in place. For some people, this is going to be really easy. It might just be someone in your friendship group that you don't want to spend any more time with. But what if it's your mum? And often it is the mums phoning up saying, I thought I'd be a grand by now. What are you doing? Like, when are you going to do this? Da, 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 da. And the women don't feel like they can talk to their mum because they feel like they're letting them down. And that is much more tricky. And that's when it's up to you to decide whether to put a boundary up and spend less time with her, or actually have a conversation with her and say, you're actually adding to my stress here. I know you're not meaning it, but I am trying really hard. I'm struggling, and it's actually having the opposite effect of what you're trying to do. We build in self-care. So I know I said a minute ago one yoga class isn't going to make it go away, but what about a weekly yoga class or sound bath? Something that's just for you, that you go to either on your own or with people who fill up your cup and bring you joy. And then there's the daily things that we can do, isn't there? Making a list every morning, not just existing through each day, but starting each day with intention and saying, this is what I need to achieve today. This is what I want to achieve today. This is what would be fucking fabulous to achieve today. And then you tick it off at the end of the day and you assess, okay, how could I have done better? Do you know what? I've been putting that off for months. Well done, me. I'm really, really proud of myself for that. Stress, can't emphasize this enough. When you are in the trenches of infertility, stress simply won't just go away, okay? But it can be managed. And even just looking at it as something to be managed as opposed to disappeared can make an absolutely enormous difference. Okay. And again, this is where people like myself come in. If you are too stressed to spend the time reading It Starts with the Egg or getting your head around whether you need to worry about this or this, you've only got a spare hour. Do I spend my time doing this or this? This is where people like me come in, just to, you're almost like outsourcing that stress. Give it to me and I'll tell you where to spend your time and I'll tell you why. And then you'll know you're doing the right thing. And this is the thing that I talk to my clients about all the time. I close every call. Well, I don't actually offer everyone a place to work with me because not everyone, it's not going to work for everyone. But if I offer someone a place to come and work with me at the Fertility Mentor, I always close by explaining to them, I wish I had a magic wand and I could wave it and I could promise you that you're going to fall pregnant and you're going to have a happy, healthy pregnancy and you're going to hold that baby in your arms. I wish nothing more that I could do that. But the truth is, I can't. But my goal for every single woman I work with is that they're going to know they did everything they could. They gave it their best shot. They're not going to look back and think, I wish I'd ate this. I wish I'd taken this supplement. I wish I hadn't done this. I wish I had tried this. They're just going to know that they gave it their best try. And they're going to know why so that they can keep doing this in case it takes them 6 months to conceive, a year to conceive, or if they have their baby and they want to have another baby, they've got the exact steps that they need to do that. Okay, I have chatted a lot, a lot this morning. I hope you found this very, very useful. And again, I know more people will be watching it on the replay than live. So if you've got any comments, any questions at all, pop them below and I will respond to them. I can't be here without talking about how excited I am that my absolutely free fertility preparation course is going to be ready next week. I can't wait. It's going to have 5 masterclasses, 5 workbooks, lots of accountability, lots of free challenges and accountability for anyone who is trying to conceive. We're going to be looking at nutrition, much deeper into the supplements that we've just talked about. We're going to be looking at that mindset and how to keep going when it's all just really difficult. And as I say, it's going to be absolutely free because one of my number one goals and values is to democratize fertility awareness and information. So please do comment below or drop me a note if you want to be one of the first to know about it. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Let's have an awesome Thursday, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much, GGC, for having me here. I couldn't love it more and have a brilliant day. Take it easy, my lovelies. Bye.